Namaskar. Today it's April 14th, 2026. Each year on March 14, I begin a 100-day journey of returning to the essence of yoga towards a celebration of International Day of Yoga on June 21st. This returning to the essence of yoga is not as a ritual or performance or aesthetics. It is just by awareness. Welcome to day 32 of Satvik Yogi Path. Satvik Yogi Path, which is a complete, non religious, global way of living with awareness. On day 30th, we learned about the 9 obstacles. Yesterday, on day 31, we saw how there are 4 signs or symptoms through which our body and breath tells us that our mind has become unsteady or our mind is disturbed. Today, Maharishi Patanjali tells us in Yoga Sutra 1.32 tat pratishedarth tat pratishedartham ek tattva abhyasah. Once again, tat pratishedartham ek tattva abhyasah. These disturbances can be overcome by practicing one principle with steadiness, which means choosing one anchor, a thread, or just one practice, but with steadiness and with awareness, a gentle return to it again and again. So let's be clear on Yoga Sutra 1.32, which is Tat Pratishedartha Ek Tattva Abhyasah. To overcome these disturbances, practice one simple principle with steadiness. Now, Maharishi Patanjali explains the sutra after describing the obstacles and their symptoms. Maharishi Patanjali now gives a very practical instruction. He just says that choose one principle, choose one anchor, one steady practice, and just stay with it. Not many techniques, not many methods, not many distractions. Just one. Now, what this one principle means in a very simple and, if we have to put it in a non religious way, global way, one principle does not mean one belief. It does not mean one ritual. It does not even mean one tradition. It means choose one simple practice that brings your mind back to steadiness. Choose one simple practice that brings your mind back to steadiness and return to it again and again. If you remember, in our stillness practice, we do the practice of Nabhi Dharana, which is observation. We hold we place our hand lightly onto our navel and we stay with it. We stay with our anchor. And anytime our mind feels distracted or disturbed, we just return to it again and again. So, for some, this one principle may be the sound of Om, whereas for others, it could be the breath or a gentle mantra, any mantra, for or even the feeling of gratitude. That could be your anchor. That could be your one principle, but with steadiness or a moment of stillness or awareness of the present moment. It could be any of these. The practice itself is not the point. The steadiness is. So it is about the steadiness. We choose just one anchor, choose just one principle, but what is important is with steadiness. Now, as a, if I have to give an analogy, the analogy could be the single thread. So let's see how what the single thread is about. Before I go into the analogy, here is my shout out to Yusuf Khan hyphen ID9UE. Hello, Yusuf Khan. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you. And Utpal De 2329. Namaste from Bangladesh, Hindu. Thank you so much, Utpal De. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so happy that we have come together, both Yusuf Khan and Utpal De, that we are here together practicing the Satvik Yogi Path. And imagine, now the analogy is imagine a cloth woven of many threads. A cloth woven of many threads. Now, if one thread is pulled with steadiness, the entire cloth begins to move. Once again, imagine a cloth woven with many threads. Many threads. If one thread is pulled with steadiness, the entire cloth begins to move. In the same way, when you hold one practice with sincerity, remember, it could be the breath, it could be the feeling of gratitude, it could be any mantra, or it could be anything, but what is important is the steadiness is that you hold it with steadiness. So when you hold one practice with sincerity, the entire mind begins to settle. Give it a try. You don't need many techniques. You need just one thread held with awareness. So, what is important is steadiness, the sincerity. So, here is a gentle truth from this is something from my heart. In today's world, we are surrounded by endless options. I'm sure you would agree with me on that. Endless options. Just take an example of when you have decided to buy a phone or any smart phone or device, you have tons of options. Oh my gosh, which one to choose from? We are surrounded by endless options, endless techniques, endless methods, endless distractions. I'm sure you would agree with me on that. Endless distractions. But Maharshi Patanjali reminds us that clarity comes from simplicity. simplicity, not complexities. Clarity comes from simplicity. The less we have, the easier or the clearer it is, right? The less clutter you see in the room, there is more clarity. There's higher chances of finding an object that you've been looking for. So it is very simple. Clarity comes from simplicity. Simplicity comes from choosing one practice. You see how this is getting connected. Clarity comes from simplicity, and simplicity comes from choosing one practice and returning to it with love. So, why this matters to our practice? This sutra teaches us that steadiness is more important than variety. Steadiness is more important than variety. One sincere practice is stronger than many scattered ones, right? One sincere practice is stronger than many scattered ones. The mind settles when it has a single anchor. The mind settles when it has a single anchor. My single anchor when I do my stillness practice is my navel. And anytime I feel that my mind is disturbed or feeling distracted, so many distractions, I just return to my navel. That's my anchor. Obstacles often soften, see the word, obstacles often soften when attention becomes unified. So these obstacles that we learned in Yoga Sutra 1.30, the nine obstacles of the mind, they soften when attention becomes unified. Clarity grows through repetition. Remember the ripples, one after the other, not complexity. So clarity grows through repetition, not complexity. So, okay, so what are we going to practice today? Before I go there, let me give a shout out to Utpal De. Wonderful. Satvik lifestyle is really effective, peaceful. I'm trying in 18 months. Excellent. I loved your comment. Thank you. That is, you've already taken the first step that you're saying that I want to do this itself shows you're showing up. So that is the biggest step. And look how far you have come already. So I'm so glad to have you, Utpal. Thank you so much that you're showing up and I'm able to share my practices with you. Amazing. So, what are we practicing today? Today, we practice choosing one anchor and staying with it gently. Remember, we are practicing to choose one anchor and staying with it gently and returning to it again and again when the mind wanders. So it could be soft repetition of Om, allowing steadiness to grow naturally. So, this is what we are practicing. We are choosing one anchor. We are staying with it gently. We are returning to it when the mind starts to wander. And soft repetition of Om, Jap, and allowing steadiness to grow naturally. So let's begin our stillness practices with Jap. the soft repetition. We have already, by now, we have been practicing jap of Om. Today, maybe it's the fourth day or the third day. So, the jap, which let the sound rise. It's o, and the which starts in the belly and it moves through your chest. Oh, and the softens at your lips. So let's get with the stillness practice of jap, the soft repetition with Om. So are you ready? Let's go. Back and spine straight. Remember, when I say sit comfortably, it means be aware of your back and spine straight, of your posture, back and spine straight, with a smile on your face. Smiling is mandatory in Satvik Yogi Path because you look beautiful in your smile. So, if you don't believe me, take a look later. Take a look through the mirror while keeping a smiling face and look at yourself. I'm telling you, you are going to come back and tell me tomorrow that yes, you were right. So prove me otherwise. So just take a look at your smile at yourself in the mirror and then see for yourself. So in Satvik Yogi Path, we always bring a smile. And it's a great exercise for your face as well. So let's get on with jap, the soft repetition. Let it rise from your belly, let it move through your chest, and let it soften on your lips. Chin slightly tucked in, back and spine straight. Roll your shoulder if you have to. Open up your chest so your lungs get extra room to work efficiently. So let's get on. Again, take a deep breath in and exhale with Om. Om. One more time. Take a deep breath in and exhale into Om. Stay like that and slowly open your eyes. Beautiful. Let's move on to our next stillness practice. Bhavna. Jap, remember jap, and then comes bhavna. So, bhavna is the gentle contemplation. Now, what is this gentle contemplation? I would bring back the analogy of the lake with the ripples. Remember? Still water, the water is still, and you drop a pebble into the water, and then the ripples start to form one after the other, then another, and each new ripple that forms gets softer than the previous one until the last ripple just softens so much that the water becomes still again. But you are the one who is watching the ripples. The watching the ripples get softer until the water becomes still. And as you're watching, that is with sincerity. You're letting the ripples get softer and you see the clarity. That's contemplation. You stay with one principle: awareness, steadiness, clarity. Let's do it. You just sit comfortably and just contemplate the meaning of the sutra. The sutra says, Tat pratishedh प्रतिषेधर्म अर्थ एक तत्व अभ्यास. The disturbances can be overcome with practice of one principle, with steadiness. Not many techniques. One. But what is important is with steadiness. So you just choose one anchor. Just sit like that and contemplate on the meaning of the sutra and come back to your natural rhythm. So here is the sutra once again. The sutra is the correct pronunciation of the sutra is tat tat pratishedarth tat pratishedartham ek tattva abhyasah. Once again, tat pratishedartham tat pratishedartham ek tattva. Tattva is the principle. Tattva is the principle. Abhyas is the practice. Ek, one. So one principle practice with steadiness. Tat, that. Pratishedarth, pratishedartham. So tat pratishedartham ek tattva abhyasa. One principle practice with steadiness. So, our last stillness practice, I'm sure by now you all know, our last stillness practice is Nabhi Dharan, which is just observation. Observation. And to do that, again, back and spine straight, roll your shoulder if you have to, and place one hand on your navel. Nabhi. And this time, you're only going to observe because this is the observation practice. Notice how the mind responds when you stay with one simple practice. So, your navel is your anchor, and just notice how your mind responds. Remember, anytime you get off or feel disturbed or distracted, Just come back to your navel or your breath. So come back to your navel. So we are only observing how our mind responds with just one simple practice. Your navel is your anchor. You've chosen your anchor already, and you're just staying with it. But anytime any thought comes in or distractions, just observe how your mind responds. Just come back to your navel and open your eyes. Observation. That is our stillness practice. So, we have all come to our day 32 challenge. Our day 32 challenge is listen to this very carefully. Today, choose one anchor for your mind. One anchor. Remember the anchors we talked about? It could be a breath, it could be Om, it could be any mantra, but one, just one. Or it could be just feeling of gratitude. So you would choose one anchor for your mind. One anchor for your mind. Your breath or sound or a word or a feeling. So it could be anything, but only choose one and return to it once during your day. Once again, your challenge today is that you choose one anchor. It could be a word, or it could be one of your affirmation or the mantra or your breath or any sound, but you should be able to return to it gently. So that's your challenge for day 32. One principle, one moment, and one return to awareness. Day 32 reminds us that steadiness grows when we choose one simple practice and return to it with sincerity. Thank you for showing up every day. Thank you. We meet again tomorrow. Until then, stay warm, stay open, and stay honest to your story. Dhanyavad. Thank you. I'll just read. Thank you. Thank you.